Check. 1, 2, 3.
The
Brief.
This is the D-Brief.
Your guide to Detroit.
Your guide to Detroit's
arts and entertainment scene.
This is the
Brief.
Welcome to the Debrief for the week of April 16th, 2018. I am your co-host. My name is Seth Ressler.
I'm Becky Scarcello.
Hey, Becky, how you doing? It's
Good.
been a couple weeks.
I know. I missed you.
I missed you too. Oh, I went away. I was in Vegas for this big National Association of Broadcasters conference. You had the holiday there with the chocolate bunnies that lay eggs.
Yes, and I got to go to a warm place and see cactus.
Nice. Where were you?
Arizona.
I was in Vegas. It was nice.
It was very nice.
All right, we're back though. We've got a great show for you. We've got our live guest this week. A couple of authors that we're talking to
Yeah,
this
I like
week.
the theme we have going.
Yeah, both of them named Karen. So in studio, we're going to have Karen Dybis. She is the author of a new book called Secret Detroit, A Guide to the Weird, Wonderful, and Obscure.
Yeah, super cool. And I saw her speak at a Detroit History Club event recently.
Oh.
She's got stories.
With Bailey, our
Yes.
good friend Bailey over
Yes.
at Detroit History Tours.
Exactly. So-
Yeah, no, you love this stuff, Craig, because you do
I
all
love
the
it.
tour guide stuff. You love the trivia. She's got a couple of other books, too, The Witch of Del Rey and Better Made in Michigan, which is all about better made chips.
Right.
Also, I got a chance to sit down with another author. Her name is Karen Dionne. She is the author of the international bestseller, The Marsh King's Daughter.
This is such an exciting story. When you
This
told
is-
me,
yes.
I'm so excited for her.
I'm
And
not going to give away what happened,
No.
but she wrote this book. She's from Shelby Township, is where she's living
Yeah,
now.
close by.
And the whole book is a psychological thriller that's set in the UP.
Very intriguing.
And there's cool stuff going on with it. And then you and I had an opportunity a couple of weeks ago to go to this place that, on the one hand, sometimes it's named Sfumato.
Right, with
And-
the fragrances.
Right. And on the other hand, it's sometimes named Castalia. Am I
Right,
pronouncing that
for
right?
the cocktails.
Yeah, it was
So
great.
it's a mouthful, but we had so much fun. I loved it.
They pair perfume and cocktails, and if that sounds
In
unusual,
a cave.
it
In a
is,
cave.
But it was really, really cool. Now, quick programming note: some people may have noticed that our good friend Mike Jeter, the comedian, is not here with us today.
Right.
Yeah. So while we were taking a couple weeks off, Mike's comedy career has just been taken off.
He is killing it with the comedy.
And he's just out every
Yeah.
single night. He is
Busy
on the road. And he finally just came to us and said, guys, I love doing this show, but I can't do it anymore with my
Right.
schedule, with everything that's going on. So, unfortunately, Mike is left us. We may have him back, though, as a guest from here.
I think we
from
can
time to
persuade
time.
him
Yeah,
to
definitely he'll
his
stop
voice
by
around here.
and- yeah, but we obviously know that the comedy is his focus. And
Right.
We wish
I'm
him the
happy
best
for
of luck.
him.
I am, too.
Yeah.
And by the way, if you miss Mike, you can still get Mike Jeter gear over at, I think, JCPenney carries it.
I thought it was Sears.
Sorry.
Yeah, one of those.
Check around.
Yeah.
So stepping in to fill his shoes, or to at least to try,
That's not going to be easy.
we have with us John. You go by Jag.
Yeah, my real name is John Gay. My initials are JAG, so I've gone by Jag in my radio career up until this point.
I have a theory as to what the A stands for. How about you?
I do as well.
You've known me for a few months now. You're probably dead on.
I'm forming an opinion.
We have known you for a few months. You've actually been with the show for quite a while now. You've been our producer sort of behind the scenes, and you've been helping us out for weeks and weeks and weeks, and so we're glad you're here.
No, I've had a lot of fun working with you guys and doing the show, so I'm thrilled to be an on-air part of it now.
And you're a radio guy like me. I mean, that was how we met. Is you emailed me out of the blue one day, and you're like, "Hey, can we go grab drinks?" And
Yeah.
we went and grabbed drinks, and that was kind of how we got together. Right?
Exactly. Beginning of a beautiful relationship.
Lots in common.
So, for people who don't know your story, tell us a little bit about your relationship with Detroit.
Sure. So I came to Detroit for the first time in June of 2011 to work as a DJ on Channel 955, local radio station here. I was here for a couple of years and then went to New Orleans for a few years to do some radio down there, and then really missed the area and wanted to come back. I was treated so well by people in Detroit. I fell in love with the area and the people in the area. Always felt at home here. I was always a fan of Detroit's comeback story. So when I came back in January of 2016, it was for good. I got married. My wife and I have settled down and put down roots here. And the change in the city was starting to come back when I left in 2013. When I got back in 2016, it was astounding how far the city and the
must have
surrounding
blown
area
your
had.
mind.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was amazing. So I'm so thrilled to be part of Detroit. I will talk to anybody and their ear off about how awesome Detroit is. My family from back east came in for my wedding last year. here, got to see how awesome Michigan is. I have a real passionate love for this city and this area, which makes me even more thrilled to be part of the show.
Yeah, and I love that you have the New Orleans experience too, as do I, and we can bond over that as well.
I know people say, would you rather live in Detroit or New Orleans? And I honestly tell them Detroit. I would rather be cold than hot.
Yeah.
All right, brother. Well, welcome to the show. We got a fun episode. We're glad you're here. We're getting into all the Detroit concerts, comedy, movies, plays, and more. You guys ready?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Debrief.
Want more? Text the word Detroit to the number 444-999.
All right, Jag, I don't need to tell you this because you've obviously been here the whole time, lurking in the background. But obviously,
Lurking is a good word.
Lurking.
Kind of my thing.
I am the new guy to Detroit, relatively speaking. I don't know how long I can say that.
We've
before
got
it
a
wears
little
off.
continuum here. You've been here for a couple of years. I've been here on and off for 5, and Becky's been here her whole life. So
Right.
that's a continuum.
It's a good mix. So Mother's Day is coming up, and I always wonder whether the city, because the city's got some weird holidays and some strange things. Is there anything around Mother's Day that people do here, or is it just like it is everywhere else? Just a
I
hallmark?
think it's like how it is everywhere else. You call your mom, you take her out to brunch or dinner.
You pay
bring
way more than you should
flowers.
because prices are jacked up.
If you didn't make the reservations ahead of time, you're going to Coney Island. You know.
So
Mom's getting chili cheese for Mother's Day.
Yeah.
the big question is, what do you do for Detroit Mom? Like, what are the? I mean, if you want to do something that is, supporting local shops, local artists, local, whether it's restaurants or whether it's something else, what are some good suggestions? Like I know that I gave my girlfriend, not my mother, but my girlfriend, some Rebel Nell jewelry
Oh, yeah.
a while
Yeah,
back.
yeah.
And I just thought that was cool because it was so Detroit based.
Very much. Yeah.
So
You got me thinking of doing that for my mom for Mother's Day now.
Yeah, that would
that's
be
a kind of
special.
cool idea.
Yeah,
That would be Detroit-y, yeah.
Right.
I mean, I think of taking mom places because, theoretically, the weather's warming up, things are
Yeah,
blooming.
yeah.
I think about going to Belle Isle,
Ice storm.
Hopefully there's not going to be ice on May 13th, but I think about going to Belle Isle to see the daffodils coming up
I think that, because everybody's mom is different, it depends on your mom.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
What does
maybe
she
she
like?
wants to go out to eat. There's a million amazing restaurants, a dozen of which have opened in the last month in
Absolutely.
Detroit. There's
Tons of
all
things to
these
try.
historical things to see. Maybe she's active. Maybe she likes to walk around. Maybe she wants to sit down, or maybe she wants to go to a drive-in movie. But I think this is where we need help because there's so many different things to do in this amazing city.
right.
How do you
Where
get
do
it
we-
unique
where do
and
we start?
interesting?
And this came up because our intern Spencer actually mentioned that like Mother's Day was a huge holiday.
Oh, he's
for
like,
him.
I plan way ahead, and it's a big
Right.
tradition. And we're like, what do you do? He takes his mom to Cedar Point.
Which is awesome, and
Yeah.
props to him and his mom. But I can tell you, my mom wants no part of a roller coaster.
I would go there if my kids took me there. I'd
Really?
I'd be into
You're
it.
still in that hip mom phase. How long till?
Oh, heck yeah. I mean, I might not go on as many roller coasters as I may have before.
how many more years do you think you can pull off the cool mom thing?
80
Good answer.
till I'm in the ground.
All right, so that's a good idea, Jack. If people have suggestions, if you're listening and there's something that you want to recommend that people should do for their mother, something Detroitish, I think is what we're
I
saying.
love this. So we're going to ask our listeners for stuff.
Yes. Send us an email. The email address is hello@thedebriefdetroit.com, and it's THED, like the letter D, briefdetroit.com. And again, whether that's gift ideas or whether it's a place to go. But
We have a product or an experience.
yeah, but
Yes.
it's got to be something. Don't come back to us with, something national chain, whatever stuff.
Don't take her to Applebee's.
Right. Yeah.
No.
That's not going to
Oh, God, no.
But we do want to hear your suggestions. So email us, hello@thedebriefdetroit.com.
And when do we need these by?
Mother's Day.
So
The sooner, no.
You gotta plan ahead.
Becky, you can't say that because there are so many guys that wait until May 12th at 11:59 p.m. It's like husbands on Christmas. Get them to us as soon as possible.
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Sooner
Email
is better
it now.
Hey, look, coming up in just a few minutes, there is a international best-selling novel that is set in the UP, and I actually had an opportunity to sit down and talk to the author, and you will hear from her.
This is the D.
Concert calendar.
Becky, what's going on with music?
All right, Wednesday, April 18th, Matt and Kim at the Royal Oak Music Theater. Thursday, April 19th, the highly anticipated Jack White Show. He's opening up his tour at Little Caesars Arena.
He's got billboards all over the place.
It's awesome. It's everywhere. And he was just on Saturday Night Live. So
I'm going to be honest. I love Jack White. I am a fan, except for the time that I interviewed him and it didn't go so well.
well,
Was he a little bit of a prima donna?
Yeah, but honestly, I wasn't that good either. I was.
it was a mutual.
I could have been better prepared.
You just didn't have
let's
good
say.
chemistry.
You know what it was? I asked him, this was when he was with the White Stripes, and he and Meg would wear the red and white outfits. And I asked him about the red and white outfits, and he yells at me, he goes, "They're not outfits!" And then it was just downhill from there.
Yeah, it's a whole look, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyways, important thing to note, the show is completely phone free. You cannot bring your phone, so advising to print tickets ahead. If you do bring your phone, it'll be locked in one of those little pouches.
That's like they do that when you go to Paisley Park.
Exactly, yeah.
For
familiar.
Prince.
Yeah. So I like it at a show. I
It's kind of sad we reached that point, but there's a good idea there.
It is, because I don't mind taking a few pictures, of course, being selfish, but I don't like watching a show, listening to a show through other people's phones. And when especially a standing room, when I'm one of the shorter ones in the audience, it loses the experience. It's like, be there. If you want to hear a live experience, not a YouTube video.
Right.
Great.
Nobody wants to watch you live streaming Jack White on
No one
Facebook
cares.
Or flipping
Live.
through the perfect Snapchat filter to get the video or picture just right.
Nobody wants to see, Jack White with the bunny ears and the little nose. Nobody cares.
That's right. So anyway, also on Thursday, April 19th, Papa Roach at the Fillmore.
That is a little bit of a throwback.
Throwback,
Huh?
yeah. There's so many throwback shows. I got a few more.
When rap rock was big.
Yeah. Friday, April 20th. Here's a cool thing. So it's not only Friday, but also Saturday, Sunday as well. 3 performances. Women Rock at Orchestra Hall. So the Detroit Symphony Orchestra, along with conductor Jeff Tyzik, pay tribute to the likes of Carole King, Tina Turner, Janis Joplin, Pat Benatar, other great female rockers. They're going to play all their hits.
That's
The DSO,
cool.
that is cool.
That rocks.
That is cool.
3 chances.
We have a pretty hip symphony, I think.
Oh, super hip.
I mean, I'll be honest, I've never been in a city and been like, I really want to go see the symphony. And the more I hear about the DSO, the more I'm like,
they do so many cool things.
I want to go to that.
Like they do in Christmas time, they'll play Home Alone and then play the music live.
That
goes along with it. Yeah, things like that. They're always thinking. So Saturday, there's a bunch of stuff. Saturday, April 21st. I think you're going to like this one, Seth. Queensryche, Lita Ford, Dokken at the Masonic Temple.
Do you think I'm a headbanger or something?
I think you're a closet headbanger.
I see
No.
you having a huge crush on Lita Ford.
No, that was never my thing. Maybe
I was off.
There's some Poison songs I like, but
I'm with you on that. We'll discuss that after the show.
I mean, who doesn't? Also, another throwback, Rick Astley at St. Andrews Hall on Saturday.
Whole crowd gets rickrolled.
I know, right? You click on the link to buy tickets and just nothing happens. It's just
I'm never going to give him up. Okay, so.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. Show lost its comedian.
I know. We're
We're
trying.
all trying to pick up the slack and all failing.
We're so not funny, but we're going to try our hardest.
We're going to get some writers in here, damn it.
Okay, so speaking of funny, you guys know John Waters. 2 nights, Saturday and Sunday, April 21st and 22nd, John Waters, yes, the director, is going to be at El Club.
Doing what?
So, exactly. So he's going to do live commentary to a couple of his movies.
Is he like the guy that talks out loud in the movie theater? You want to shut up? I mean, how does that work?
Well, hopefully you won't want him to shut up, but
It's like Mystery Science Theater 3000 for your own movie.
Yeah.
yes, with that little mustache. Yes.
But
So
here's what I don't get, because who's the opening act?
So, I don't know if it's opening or closing, how it works, but John is going to be on Saturday with the band L7.
I mean, that's a great band.
Seriously.
That's a cool, weird
Combo.
show.
And Serial
then-
Mom was a great movie. I'm sorry. I
Yes,
got
he'll
a
be
big
doing
kick out of that
commentary
movie.
to Serial Mom with L7. And then on Saturday, he'll be doing commentary to Desperate Living with the band Mink Stole. So, hey, anything could happen.
All right.
Get yourself to the L Club. And then also on Saturday, April 21st, Puddle of Mud at the Emerald Theater in Mount Clemens.
She hates me.
Sunday,
It's getting
April
blurry in here.
22nd. I know. Sunday, April 22nd. Indigo Girls at the Soundboard at Motor City Casino. Love them. Wednesday, April 25th. I told you guys about some of the recent Detroit area artists that have been making it big and signing record deals. So Bazzi is one of those. He's a young singer-songwriter from Dearborn. He's opening for Camila Cabello at the Fillmore.
That is cool.
I know.
From my top 40 days, she's one of the hottest names out there. We used to be in Fifth Harmony, and
Cool.
now her song Havana completely blew up in the first part of 2018.
Yes.
That's her, Havana.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that'll be a good one. All right, in music news, we got Record Store Day coming up, Saturday, April 21st. This is a celebration of independent record stores, not just in Detroit. This is all over the world. It happens on that day. But in Detroit, more than a dozen of our local record shops will have exclusive releases stocked, discounts, in-store performances, other goodies to pick up. There'll be super cool releases from Detroit artists, including MC5, Jay Dilla, Iggy Pop, Aya, many more. So, huge list. Shops that you can go to include Detroit Threads and Hamtramck. We got Hello Records and People's Records in Detroit, Dearborn Music in Dearborn, Village Vinyl in Warren. You can find a guide to all of them on Metro Times.
I mean, this is a throwback to a time when, I remember, I grew up in the Bay Area, and I would go up to Berkeley, and you would go to Amoeba Records, and you would go to Streetlight Records, and you would go to all those cool record stores, and I could kill a day just going through the record
flipping
stores.
Through. Me and my sons can too. It's just,
And to go back and to do that, it's easy to pull something up on a streaming service, but to go through and do that,
and the
when you
smell
find
and the feel.
I was in Memphis for a wedding last fall, and I was in a record store for the first time in a long time, and the stuff that I was pulling out of these shelves were limited edition, rare releases. It'd been a long time since I'd been in a record store, and there's just something about it.
Oh yeah, forget shoe shopping. Like I could open up my wallet in a record store and like.
You're more of a record girl than a shoe girl.
Yeah.
Kids, if you don't know what a 7-inch and a 12-inch is, ask your parents.
There you go. Exactly. What else have I got? Oh, renovations at two of Detroit's beloved venues. We got the Masonic Temple. Beautiful building, giant building. Started a $3.7 million redo. Got new restrooms coming in, insulation, heating, cooling. A lot of like stuff you won't notice but needs to be done, restoration, cleaning. That should be complete by the end of the year.
That's got to be a huge job.
Huge undertaking. Even just the stonework on the outside. So I'm glad. They have the money to do it. It's great.
No, I just meant the restrooms.
Oh my gosh. The Fillmore is also undergoing a 4-month restoration starting in June. Unfortunately, they're going to be closed during that time. But get this, they have not painted the ceiling in there since they opened in 1926.
See, this is what I find interesting. They're doing the renovation over the summer. And you would think
that's a weird time.
Maybe
no, guys, it's not weird because they have all the outdoor venues to compete with in the summer. So you got DT, Meadowbrook, Shane Park.
Yeah.
It's a perfect time.
Because they have all the big shows in the wintertime, them and the Fox and that whole stretch. So, okay, that makes sense
Makes sense. The bummer part is they got to lay off 180 people, but is what it is. New improved.
All right, coming up in just a few minutes, we'll talk about the stand-up comedy shows coming to town.
This is the deep. This is the deep brief. This is the deep brief.
All right, guys, I am really excited about this. This was a cool moment that I had a couple of weeks ago.
And I think unexpectedly so, right?
Unexpectedly so. So I drove out to Shelby Township, and I met with a woman who is the author of the international bestseller called The Marsh King's Daughter. And this book is set in the UP, which I have not been to. Have you guys been to the UP?
Just very minimally, not a lot, which is sad. I know.
I spent a couple of hours in the UP. My wife and I drove over the bridge and took the ferry to Mackinac from St. Ignace to say we went to the UP.
You just kind of put your foot in there.
But we were actually planning this out last night. We are, for our first anniversary this summer, we're going to take a week and kind of drive around the UP. And I know we can't do the whole UP in just a week, but we've got like 4 or 5 things we're going to do, like the Pictured Rocks and Sault Ste. Marie and the Sioux Locks. And there's so much to see. And because my wife and I love Michigan but didn't grow up here, there's so much we want to see that we haven't done yet. So we're really looking forward to doing that this summer.
That's a good way to spend your anniversary.
Well, I'll tell you what, I will loan you the audiobook so that you can listen on your way to the
Is it going to freak us out?
Yes, it's totally going to freak you out.
Oh, don't go walking in the woods.
Maybe on the way back after we cross the bridge and get back to Traverse City area.
I don't love about the UP just personally is I get kind of freaked out when there's so much vast wilderness.
Yeah, this book's going to freak you out.
Yeah.
It's a psychological thriller.
Like what's hiding in there?
Yeah, in fact, you know what? I will let Karen Dionne tell you what the book is all about.
The Marsh King's Daughter is the story of a character named Helena, and the book actually takes place in Michigan's Upper Peninsula, which makes it fun. Helena's story is, for the first 12 years of her life, she lived in a cabin with her mother and father in the wilderness in Michigan's Upper Peninsula. And during all that time, she never saw another person other than her mother and father, which maybe sounds a little grim, but she loved her life. She was a tomboy. She liked hunting and fishing and foraging, and she loved learning everything there was to know about the marsh. So, at the age of 12, she finds out through a series of dramatic circumstances that the reason they live like that is because her father kidnapped her mother and had hidden the family away. So that's half the story. And then in the present day part of the story, Helena is a young mother of 2 little girls. She's still living in the Upper Peninsula. She's living south of Grand Marais. But she has reinvented herself because it didn't go well for her after she left the marsh, and she wanted to put all of that behind her. So even her husband does not know her history. She makes a living selling jams and jellies that she makes from foraging blueberries and other wild ingredients. But all of that comes crashing down when her father escapes from the maximum security prison in Marquette. Now she has to use the hunting and tracking skills that her father taught her as a little girl to hunt him down before he can come after her and her family.
Wow.
It's freaky, right?
Yikes.
My eyes are just getting bigger and bigger listening to her set up the story.
Oh, yeah.
I was freaked out when she's like, yeah, just your mother and father. Those are the only other people that you know in the world.
It just completely freaky.
And I'd be like, yeah. So, but the whole story set in the UP.
Yeah, I consider The Marsh King's Daughter to be my love letter to the Upper Peninsula. When my husband and I moved there in the 1970s and we homesteaded, it was out of a desire to live closer to nature. We wanted to feel more connected. We hated the idea of working at your job and going at the end of the week, getting your paycheck, going to the store, buying your food. We wanted to grow food. We just wanted to feel more connected to the land. So we paid attention, even though we didn't live off the grid for 30 years. We paid attention to the land, and I know the seasons, and I know where to pick blueberries and what time of year, and the names of the plants and so forth. And so because I love the Upper Peninsula and I love the wilderness so much, I basically gave that same love to Helena, the character. And as I was writing the book, so many times it almost felt like a memoir, because I was just revisiting that time when we lived in the Upper Peninsula as a young couple, and we were so, insanely happy doing what we were doing.
So, Jag, when you get back from your trip, you got to write a book.
I like the fact that she has all this experience in the UP. It's like Stephen King in Maine or something like that. Because
that's what makes it work.
For someone to say, "Oh, I'm going to write a book about the UP," and I'm from Texas, that doesn't work. But like the fact that she has so much personal experience that she can weave into it.
Well, and what was funny is her first thought was not to set it in the UP.
Really?
Her first thought was actually to set it in an urban setting. And then, she changed her mind and decided to put it in the UP.
So she had the kernel of the storyline first before the location.
She said that she woke up in the middle of the night and had the first couple lines of the story in her head. Not the plot, not the characters, just the first couple lines. And the opening lines are about, how her mother is famous, but not for good reasons. Oh. And you hear the lines and you're like, you hear the premise of this book and you're like, oh my
freaky.
God.
At what point did she decide that they lived off making jams and jellies? Because I feel like that's about as UP as it gets.
Yeah, for sure.
from farming their own land.
Well, you know what? Sure. I'll let her tell you a little bit more about the main character, Helena.
Well, Helena is a very interesting character because for the first 12 years, she sees no one except her mother and father. I gave her a stack of old National Geographic magazines because, every cabin in northern Michigan has a stack of National Geographics, and I wanted her to be able to learn to read and write. So she does, and there's the dynamic between her mother and father that's very odd. Only Helena doesn't know this because it's her normal. It's all she knows of life. So she's a victim, but she doesn't know it. Only gradually does she come to see, her father for what he really is. So she's a really unique character because you could say that she loves her father with a purer love than any child has ever had for their father, because there were no other adults in her life. There's no grandparent, there's no teacher, there's no, she doesn't even have television to know how other people might act. And, I deliberately created this distance with herself and her mother. So she loves her father unconditionally. Then when she leaves the Marsh and things don't go well for her, because if you think about it, if your whole education comes from the National Geographic magazines that are 50 years old, your education is going to be a little lacking. So she hates her father when she leaves the Marsh, not so much for what he did to her mother, but for all the things about the outside world that he should have taught her that she doesn't know. She doesn't know anything about technology and social norms and pop culture. She doesn't even know a ball bounces. She's seen pictures of balls in the National Geographic, so she knows what it's called, but she doesn't know how it acts.
Eek.
Not
So
even knowing
weird.
about a ball bouncing as a sports fan, that just blows my mind.
But that just opens up so much material to work through in this book.
I will say this. I have seen some balls in the National Geographic that don't bounce.
There's some stuff I learned at 12 years old from National Geographic that I probably wouldn't have learned otherwise.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So here's the cool thing about this book, though. Here's the cool thing about this story.
Oh, we are getting worse and worse.
This sweet lady who has written this amazing book, and
I
you're
know,
going
don't
there
taint-
saying,
I know.
Don't taint it.
Jeez. Here's the cool thing about Karen is that she's been writing a long time. She and her
Okay.
husband, nearing retirement.
This is
and
not her first book.
This is not her
or-
first
yeah.
book. Most of the other stuff that she's written and has been published has been sort of in a Michael Crichton vein. This is a little bit different vein for her.
More
The
psych-
psychological
yeah, more
thriller type stuff. And she's had some modest success with the other stuff.
Okay.
She wrote this book and it took off last year. I mean, just
She just started sending it. and-
oh my God, this has been named one of the best books of 2017 by iBooks, Hudson Booksellers, Powell's Books, the South Florida Sun Sentinel, the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, the Irish Independent Library Journal Self-Awareness
Wow.
book page.
Unreal.
It was a Michigan notable book. It's the winner of Suspense Magazine's Crimson Scribe Award, and on and on. And not just critics. I mean, it's not just the New York Times that loved it and everybody else.
It's people that have read it.
Yeah, I mean, it's
just-
selling like crazy.
Yeah.
Did she have a viral moment that set this whole thing off?
Well, here's what I asked her when I asked her what the experience was like.
In the industry, it's what's called my breakout book. So I have 3 other novels published. This is my 4th published novel, but it's the first in hardcover, and it's the first that's received the attention that it's gotten. My other novels were science-based thrillers similar to what Michael Crichton writes, and they had modest success, but nobody's going to recognize my name based on those novels. The Marsh King's Daughter is considered psychological suspense. And so in addition to selling at auction in the U.S., which means more than one publisher wanted to publish the book, which is always very cool, for an author, we've also sold translation rights in 25 countries around the world. So, The Marsh King's Daughter is going to be published in French and German and Italian and Spanish and Korean and Russian and Chinese and Icelandic. So it's been very fun.
And she's not kidding. She showed me these. She's got this whole bookcase, and she's like, she pulls. Here's the Korean copy. Here's the Yiddish copy. And she
There wouldn't be a Yiddish copy.
No, there was. There was.
Really?
I'm not kidding.
That's
Are you sure it wasn't Hebrew?
Hebrew.
Well, okay.
Yiddish is slang. Hebrew
Yeah.
is
Yeah, sure.
That's talking,
Oh,
Seth.
but she's standing in front of this book, and she's got like 10 copies. She's like, they just send me 10 copies in each language. I don't know what I'm going to
But
do.
you know
with
what
it.
this tells me too is it really stands on so many more legs than having to do with the UP. This is not people aren't loving it
No,
because it's
no,
a Michigan
right.
thing.
Universal.
It's like this is a universal story that people are gravitating towards.
So here's the odd circle of life thing: is the character in the book grows up only reading these National Geographics. Could she have somebody that learns multiple languages only reading this book in 10 different languages?
No. I don't
Why
know.
don't you try that? Too? We'll give you that assignment.
It's like Rosetta Stone.
Yeah.
So this lovely, humble, very cool woman is just. I mean, you get the feeling that she's just on the ride of her life. That she's having so much fun going.
I
through
love
this.
her. I love this story.
Here's the thing, it gets better.
Okay.
Okay, because the book has now been optioned to be a movie.
As we were describing this, I'm picturing it in my head like a movie.
Oh, it sounds like a perfect premise.
I
for a
can
movie.
hear the music that'll go with it and the whole cinematography. Wow.
She told me a little bit about that.
The stage we're at it's in development. So it's in development as a major motion picture, which, I mean, it's just astonishing to me to even say that. But the production company, Anonymous Content, has optioned the right, and they're responsible for the movies Spotlight and The Revenant. And Spotlight, if you remember, won Best Picture some years ago. So I'm very happy that it's such a quality production company. The screenwriter for The Revenant adapted the book for the screenplay. And I had a conversation with him by phone, and I'm very excited because he really seemed to understand that it was a psychological story, you know, the relationship between the character and her father. And then most recently, when it was announced, the big news is that Alicia Vikander is going to star as Helena in my movie. So, yeah, that's all super exciting.
You get the sense she can't even believe it.
I know, she's so cute.
I love the way that she stumbled over the words major motion picture. Because this had to be a thrill for you, Seth, as you're interviewing her, to see her just wide-eyed at this whole experience, right?
You know what the interesting thing was? Is I went to her, and she said, "How did you find out about me?" Uh-huh. And I don't remember. I don't. There's a Michigan Authors Facebook group. Maybe it was in there. I know that this has been covered by like the industry trade Variety and things like that. She said, "You're the first person from Detroit Press to come interview me."
Wow, we got a debrief exclusive.
we're breaking something. And this isn't like that CNN breaking news. It's up 24/7.
Right,
This is actual breaking news.
This is actual breaking news.
We're Detroit Press.
That's awesome.
That part is breaking news.
I love that she gave us the first story.
But the movie is directed by Morton Tildum, who did, you like this movie, Imitation Game.
The Imitation Game.
Yeah. And Alicia Vikander, who's the Swedish actress, she's the new Lara Croft.
Tomb Raider.
In the Tomb Raider relaunch. So
she's in a bunch of great movies.
That's a big deal. And the screenplay was adapted by Ellie Smith and Mark L. Smith, who also did The Revenant.
You kind of get the sense, too, that Karen's just she wrote this little book and put it out there, and it's just all kind of happening to her.
The next thing you know, she and her husband are going to be walking down the red carpet in Hollywood for her movie premiere. How cool is that?
Right. And there's, doing the interview. Who does all the Melissa Joan Hart?
Melissa Rivers.
Yes.
Melissa Rivers. That's
Melissa Rivers.
Joan Rivers would be her mom.
Yes.
Melissa Joan Hart would be Clarissa Explains It All.
Different Melissa.
Back to your childhood, Seth.
Yeah.
You watch different television than I do.
Clearly. Well,
No, I just remember different things than you do.
We all bring different things to
One thing I always want to know, if you're the author of a book, is what is it like to see the script? When somebody else takes your work.
Did
great
they
question.
change it?
Yeah. So I asked her.
The screenplay was leaked, I guess. I don't know. It showed up in a Google alert. And it's, when I first read it, I thought, whoa, that's different. Oh, that's changed. That's different. But I could see why they made the changes that they did, because it's so much more a visual medium and they can accomplish so much more by showing. And so I like it. I think it's going to be great. And I do know, Alicia Vikander won an Oscar for her role as Best Supporting Actress in another movie called The Danish Girl. So I know that, they're going to be hoping to make a movie that's Oscar worthy. I forgot to mention the director, too, is amazing. His name is Morton Tildum, and he was nominated for an Oscar for directing The Imitation Game with Benedict Cumberbatch. And I love that movie. And his most recent movie is Passengers with Chris Pratt and Jennifer Lawrence. So it's very easy, as I'm sure you can imagine, for me as an author to just hand my project over to these super talented, creative people and say, yeah, do something with it.
She's trusting. She's more trusting than I.
I think that's to her credit, though.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, these are big names.
These are big names. These are impressive.
They're not going to mess up something.
I'm so glad you asked her about that too, Seth, because that would be what I would wonder is, okay, they're tinkering with her words and her script. I feel like it goes one of two ways. Either she's cool with it, which is awesome and credit to her, or this is my baby. What are you doing to it?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No, absolutely. So anyway, the book is The Marsh King's Daughter. It's been out in hardcover since last year.
Okay.
It is now just coming out in paperback. So
now?
Just now, as we like.
I gotta go get it.
Not now. Now
No.
it's out in paperback.
Okay, now.
And the movie, there's no guarantee, but all signs are good.
Are good.
Like we feel very positive that this will actually potentially come to theaters.
Guns are lined up, sure.
And if you want to meet her, if you want to meet Karen Dionne, April 28th at 6 p.m., she's going to be doing a book signing at Barnes & Noble in Shelby Township. So
I'm going to go.
Go say hello. I mean, honestly, I really enjoyed this conversation.
I will go
She
and then
was
save
fantastic.
reading the book till we get back from the UP.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, coming up, Becky, you were at the Free Film Festival. We'll find out all about it in just a minute.
Welcome to the deep. Breathe.
Funny stuff.
Let's take a quick look at what's going on in the comedy clubs on Wednesday, the 18th. We've got Bill Murray, Jan Vogler, and friends. They're going to be at the Fillmore. On Thursday, the 19th, the Queen of Mean, Lisa Lampanelli, is going to be at the Soundboard.
She's hilarious.
You a fan?
I am. Back in the day, I was more of a fan, but when she would do this Comedy Central roast, 'cause
she was great on that.
I admit I like that really, really awful, filthy, raunchy humor and stuff we can't say on this podcast, and she just takes it and runs with it.
On Friday, the 20th, 420, if that means anything to you. Tim Allen, local favorite, going to be at the Fox Theater. Also, Nick Swartzen's going to be over at the Royal Oak Theater. And on Saturday, 421, you've got Terry Fader at Caesars Windsor. That show has been postponed if you were a ticket holder.
Oh, what happened?
I don't know. One of the puppets got run over by a car.
I was going to say the puppets turned on him.
Yeah, they got mean. Yeah.
I don't know. I was just out in Vegas, and this guy's face is plastered.
Every marquee.
Everywhere. You can't get away from him. Also this weekend at Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle, you have Dave Attell, the former host of Comedy Central's Insomniac. At the Ann Arbor Comedy Showcase, you've got Detroit's very own Matt McClowry. He doesn't come back here very often. He lives in New York City now, but you can catch him over in Ann Arbor. At the Punchline Comedy Lounge in Southfield, you've got Tony Rock Live. He's been all over television, BET and whatnot. And the Holly Hotel has Kevin Kramus. Coming up in just a few, we'll talk sports.
This is the deep breathe.
About last week.
So this is one of the things we do. We always go around the table, find out what everybody did last week. Let's start with you new guy over there.
Yeah, what'd you do?
Well, there was an event that I was really looking forward to. It's called Causes and Kegs. It was put on by Temple Israel, and it was at Detroit City Distillery near Eastern Market. It's a Shark Tank style event. Brings together a bunch of organizations that do a bunch of stuff and pitch a bunch of ideas. And I was really
cool.
looking forward to it Saturday night.
Yeah.
Except on Friday night, I came down with a stomach bug and was kind of laid up all weekend. So the silver lining is I think I finished my complete indoctrination into becoming a Michigander because I was sucking down Vernors all weekend, and I still have some in my mug right here just as I get over this thing.
Did you warm that up?
Yeah, you're supposed to have it warm. Did
You are?
Yeah.
I don't know if I could do that. I mean, it's perfectly fine and soothing when it's cold.
Do you really? Is warm burners? That just, I don't know.
I actually would like to set some ground rules for the podcast.
Yes.
So two things I would like to not talk about
Yes.
is plungers in Seth's bathrooms and stomach bugs.
3 of them. 3. Can you believe that? 3 plungers for 3 bathrooms.
Did you not hear what she just said? I'm leaving out the graphic details. I'm not getting into. We all know what a
But I
stomach
just
bug is.
wanted to stop you there so you don't. Get
No, I tend to be kind of a TMI type of person. So,
Well, I know this about you, so
but
yeah.
But do I have my Michigan history right here, Becky? Where Vernors used to be a lot more concentrated and syrupy, and then, if I understand it right, they got bought out by some conglomerate and made more a little bit mainstream.
It's not local anymore. Yeah,
But it used to be a
more
lot
watery.
it's more watery and more like regular ginger ale as opposed to just.
Used to have a big bite to it, like really, yeah.
I mean, it was really there for you when you were not feeling well.
Right, but we don't need to talk about
See,
that.
I can understand why you might want Vernors in all 3 bathrooms, but you don't need a plunger in all 3 bathrooms.
Seth, again.
All right.
Just forget I said anything.
Becky, what did you do last week?
You know what? I did lots of cool things, including going to a few of the Freep films, the Freep Film Festival films. It's hard to pick a favorite, but I liked the event at the Jam Handy.
Yeah, so I keep hearing about this venue. I have not been.
So
what's
Steve
the story?
Byrne talked about it a little bit when we interviewed him. So I didn't know about this either. It's this beautiful old building that was in disrepair for many years, but the history of it is it was this place to make industrial and marketing and advertising films, like thousands of them. And it was a big hotbed for filmmaking in the 50s and 60s. So now it's used to host all kinds of events. But when the film festival was figuring things out, they're like, wouldn't it be cool to think about revitalizing that aspect of its history? Because films are not made there now. So they tracked down the guy. There's actually a collector and I guess a conservator of those films. He doesn't live in Detroit, but it's his labor of love to preserve and share these films. So he was there in person bringing a couple of the films from the 50s, and they were super cool.
That is cool.
Great quality. One was just all the assembly line of General Motors making a car back in the 50s.
Wow.
You guys, this was black and white. It was all scored. It was like a symphony, the Detroit Philharmonic. So it was, you can imagine all the dramatic, sounds and putting the things in the furnace. And we just walked out of there like, how did these guys not die? Like, how did they have arms and legs? Because
I think they did. I mean, I don't want to
some did.
Spoiler alert here.
But how did not more? Because it looked like the most dangerous job on the planet.
You ever wonder why Uncle Polly only has 9 fingers?
Exactly. Yeah. It gave you so much respect for these guys that work back on the assembly line. But it was also really beautiful to see all the pieces of the car coming together. So it was super cool to see something that someone's cared enough about to preserve in the original space where it was made.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I was not here last week. I was over in Las Vegas for this.
So what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Yeah, I keep getting told that I have to go to the casino that's all about Detroit.
No.
Did you fall for that?
I didn't. I didn't go because
that seems weird.
It seems weird, right? Like, I mean,
I guess I'd like to see what
it's at Fremont Street, which is coming back.
The Fremont Street neighborhood is great. Not because that's the old downtown where the original casinos were, and not the old. With a golden nugget or
real
whatever
shady,
this here.
yeah.
Because that's strange. But over on the other side, they've got Container Park there, and they've got that grasshopper that breathes fire from Burning Man. Like, that neighborhood's cool.
Okay.
You're right, though. If you want to get Andiamo or a Coney, you can just stay home.
I can just I can do that here. All right, coming up in just a few minutes, we're going to tell you about something else we did, Jag. Becky and I went to a perfume shop that transforms into a bar. In the evening.
What?
Yeah.
That was super cool.
It's cool.
The deep breathe. The deep breathe.
Sports Report.
All right, Jag, you're our new point man on sports. What's going on?
Well, this is the coolest story from just today as we record this on Monday.
News.
So, Desi Linden, native of Metro Detroit, she is the first American woman to win the Boston Marathon since 1985. First American in 33 years. Did it in a time of 2 hours, 39 minutes, and 54 seconds, which may sound long for a marathon, and it is. Reason for it, that nasty weather we had here over the weekend, they had some of that in New England today. So it was cold and raw and nasty.
I saw some videos from the run. It looked brutal.
I know some of my friends back east were not able to finish the marathon because it was the conditions were so bad. But
and you and I have both lived in Boston. You know what a big deal marathon day is in the city of Boston.
It's like opening day here in Detroit, to draw a local
blows
analogy.
Everything down. Yeah.
Unfortunately, couldn't play the normal morning Red Sox game that coincided with it. In fact, the weather was so bad they canceled the baseball game.
Wow.
But you can't reschedule the marathon.
No.
It's such a massive undertaking, and especially 5 years since what happened, the marathon, the bombing. They really wanted to have the event this year, and Boston strong and all that. So congratulations to Desi. We want to reach out to her and get her on the show because what local girl done really, really well. So congrats to her.
She's a running hero. Like, I spoke to one of my friends who's a big runner, and she's like, I know of her, of course.
It's an organization here?
Well, she runs for Hanson's Running Shop. Yeah, where you go to get your running shoes and things like that. They have some of the best runners running for them, but she's known in local circles for sure as being kind of this queen here. So to see her go on and win the Boston Marathon, that's just
I found her on Instagram. She's got some really cool pictures posted, so let's get her on the show. The DIA is doing an event called Play Ball. It's now through September. It's got a lot of memorabilia, and it has, probably as one of the feature pieces, a Honus Wagner baseball card. He is like old school, like turn of the century era baseball.
Okay.
This card is one of only 75 produced. A similar card from the collection recently sold at auction for $600,000.
Who buys a card for
That's
that?
when you get mad when mom throws away your old baseball card collection.
No kidding. It's sit in somebody's basement.
So that is one of the items on display. Also, the right field fence marker, K-Line's corner from Tiger Stadium.
That's cool.
The marker for the distance there. It's all going to be through September at the DIA, so very cool event to check out there.
I've got a bad breath Seth garbage pail kid. How much do you think that would go for?
50 cents.
Quarter.
Congratulations to Matthew Stafford and his wife Kelly. And you guys probably know the story of Matt and Kelly Stafford. He's, of course, the Lions quarterback. And he met his wife Kelly. She was the head cheerleader at Georgia when he was the quarterback there. So they're like college sweethearts.
Aww.
You know they have the twins. They are expecting baby number 3. She posted that on Instagram this week. She let Matt know, surprised him on Christmas Day with the news.
Wait. How old are those twins? Those are still babies.
They are. And the hashtag she used on her Instagram post today was this week, hashtag 3 babies under 17 months. God bless them.
Oh, boy.
So,
thank God they're cute.
Yeah.
You're babysitting, not me. I don't do diapers.
Really cool event that I did not know about. It's called Detroit Champions Week. This is the 5th year they're doing it, and it throws back to some Detroit history. So in 1930...
When we had champions?
Okay, this goes way back, Seth.
Wow.
This
is way
It would
back.
have to.
Right. In 1936, the Lions, Tigers, and Red Wings all won their first championship in the same year.
That's cool.
1936. So at the time, Michigan Governor Frank Fitzgerald referred to April 18th as Champions Day. So some folks got together about 5 years ago, so 2014. This is their 5th year. Yeah, this is their 5th year. And they've created Champions Week. So they had a gala last Saturday. This Wednesday, they've got a free event at the Detroit Historical Museum. It's got food and beverages. And this Saturday, they have an event called Chug-a-Lug, which is to celebrate sports and, well, celebration. It's it's 5 miles and 5 bars, but I know what you're going to say. 5 mile run, no thank you.
Right.
It's over a day. So you start in Corktown, you do like an hour at the first bar, and then you go a mile to the second bar, and then you do like an hour there, and it's 5 different bars.
Okay, and you could run or walk or whatever.
Or
Take a nap.
stumble or whatever.
Yeah.
So
Take an Uber.
it's a really cool event. So this is
I think Seth, you're going to give piggyback rides for that, right?
Yes, I'll
he'll
get
be
right
the
on
top
that.
of the piggyback.
Yes.
Yes.
He'll be getting piggyback rides.
Right.
Excuse me.
Yes. So it's 5 miles, 5 bars. All the events are on the website, DetroitChampions.com. Really cool thing to check out. Do want to give a shout out to Wings announcer Ken Daniels. He was in Washington, D.C. today. As you may know, his 23-year-old son died of a drug overdose in 2016. It was heroin laced with fentanyl, which is a story, sadly, we hear way too often these days. So Ken was in D.C. today talking about the opioid problem that we have in this country. So he was telling some important people his firsthand story. So
To try to get some legislation.
yeah, try and
around
get awareness, legislation, because obviously something needs to be done. It's one of the biggest problems in this
him for
country.
that.
So props to Ken for going so public with his story when it happened and trying to get some good out of it. And finally, of course, Tigers, if you want to see them this week, if the weather improves a little bit. So we'll say tentatively scheduled games if there are no more ice storms. They are home against Baltimore during the week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. 4 games against Kansas City this weekend. I say 4 because they've got a doubleheader on Friday. And then next week, the Tigers head off to Pittsburgh to take on the Pirates.
Coming up in just a few minutes, we'll talk about what's going on stages around town.
This is the Deep Brief,
Want more?
your guide to Detroit's arts and entertainment scene.
Go to the debriefdetroit.com.
Jag, this was cool. You missed this a couple of weeks ago.
You guys were telling me about this before we started recording, and you've piqued my curiosity.
Yeah,
So,
nice night out.
You found this place, Becky.
I
right?
did,
How did
yeah.
you find this place?
You know, kind of like you with the book. I don't quite remember. I
Yeah.
think there was just some buzz about it online somewhere. So I reached out to them and they're like, yeah, come on in. And normally we go and get interviews. You know, you spend 20 minutes and get something on tape. This guy, Kevin, was like, come, we'll make you drinks, hang out.
How are you going to turn that down?
Okay.
So this place actually has 2 names because it's 2 places in one.
2 identities.
Right. The first name is Sfumato, and the second name is Castalia.
correct.
Right. So Sfumato is a perfume shop, right? You go in, you get cologne, you get perfume. You know what? It was all unisex, right? It was not.
Yes, yeah.
Right. So
They have 8 signature scents and some other products. And
and then at night, they turn it into a bar, and they actually make a cocktail and match it to each scent. So when you get, the menu, on the left side are all the scents, and on the right side are all the
the drinks.
cocktails.
Really?
And then they
Yes.
make you the cocktail and they spray your napkin with the corresponding scent.
So the
you
perfume
can-
is not in the drink.
No.
No, definitely not.
But you can kind of smell and taste back and forth.
Here, let's have Kevin Peterson. It's a husband and wife who run it.
Okay.
Kevin Peterson and Jane Larsen. Let's have Kevin explain the concept behind the store and the bar.
So we started as a scent company. We're very intrigued by how natural ingredients combine to create subtle and complex scents. And my background is in the culinary world, so a lot of our scents are inspired by culinary combinations, different herbs, different spices. So now bringing those scents, translating them into the cocktail world is a very natural fit because a lot of the flavor idea is already in the scents. So we take a scent, say like our gravitas scent. It's based around coriander, cardamom, and nutmeg. And we turn that into an old-fashioned. So we take whiskey, we infuse it with coriander, cardamom, nutmeg, and use that to create a cocktail, which then pairs to our gravitas scent.
That's actually the one I had.
How was it?
It was amazing.
Yeah.
It's really good.
I like the science behind this because smell and taste are the two senses that are probably closest related.
Right.
Like you wouldn't taste a food that you don't like the smell of, but it's not, if the smell's really good, you're gonna. That's really cool.
Yeah, and we so there's 4 of us: Seth and his girlfriend, me and my husband, and we all got different drinks, and we all tried each other's too. So we really got a range.
Yeah. I'll give you an example of a pairing. Here's Kevin again.
I think one of my favorite pairings on the menu is our Arcanum scent. So the scent is very tobacco forward, very heavy, very dark, kind of smoking a pipe in the library with the fireplace. And I wanted to capture that in a drink, so I knew it was going to be kind of a spirit forward, like boozy sipping drink. But I also knew that putting tobacco in the drink was a bad idea because if you do a tincture of tobacco, you pull a lot of nicotine out, actually a lot more than you would even just smoking a cigar or smoking a cigarette. So rather than give people nicotine poisoning, I wanted to build that aspect of tobacco through other ingredients. So I tried to break down the essence of tobacco into its constituents and say, okay, there's kind of a dried fruit note. Okay, I'll turn that into a fig infusion. There's kind of a heavy sweetness to it. Okay, that can become the molasses and the blackstrap rum. There's a smoky aspect. Okay, that's a smoky scotch. And through building up all of these notes that surround tobacco without actually using tobacco, I think there's this really nice harmony that's formed where you get the tobacco scent, and then the drink is all of these notes around tobacco, and really putting the two together is what gives you the complete picture of what the pairing, is meant to evoke.
Kids, here's a pro tip. Don't drink your tobacco.
No,
When
smoke
he
it.
was saying that, I'm like, okay.
Yeah, better off smoking.
I love to hear mixologists talk
Oh,
about
it's
how
like
they
poetry.
And I'll be honest, I don't understand half the stuff.
No.
they're talking about.
The
But I
science is
think-
fascinating.
Well, what Seth and I were like, had no idea what we were getting into. I mean, we knew it'd be cool, but he was so passionate. It was like the Bill Nye
Yeah.
of cocktails and scents, and it just came through, and we were like, just in awe.
I feel like he's mixing in all these different chemicals, and he's accidentally going to find the cure to cancer.
Yeah, he might.
That's possible.
He's just all this, chemistry and stuff going on, and
He knows his stuff.
You want to hear about another pairing?
Absolutely.
Another pairing that I really like is the Iceman Cometh. So the fragrance is apricity, and the word apricity means when the sun warms something on a cold day. So the scent has a lot of cold notes, things like basil, clary sage that have kind of almost a menthol feel or a cold feel to them, and then a few warmer scents on top like galangal, which is this Asian ginger. And I didn't want to necessarily do a direct translation and say, okay, these are the notes in the scent, these are going to be the notes in the drink. Instead, I wanted to approach that more metaphorically and say, what are the cold notes in the cocktail world? So some more menthol ingredients. Genepi, Fernet have that menthol bite. Akavit doesn't have that menthol bite, but it's a Scandinavian liquor, so it's drank by cold people, so that seems fitting. And then Amaro Montenegro is this Mediterranean liqueur that is the warm note. So, again, we've got kind of the base of the cold notes and then the warm note floating on top to create sort of a metaphorical translation of that scent in cocktail form.
Okay, so
Did you catch all that?
Write that down.
is there going to be a quiz on this?
This is your homework.
Because
I know.
So since I've moved in with my wife, and
Yes.
she's taught me how to cook some things because she gets home later than I do, so I try to have dinner ready and everything. She's told me about these things we have in our pantry.
spices.
They're called spices, and I'm still
Spice up your life.
I'm still getting my head around using things like cumin and oregano, and so I'm at this very like 101 level of this, and listening to Kevin here, I'm just like
It was
mind
crazy.
blown.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing.
Yes.
And look, the space itself.
Oh, gorgeous! No, you can go on our Instagram, the debrief on Instagram. You took a bunch of pictures.
Yes, I took a bunch of
and you can
pictures.
really get the visuals. So go look at our Instagram.
And this place is on 2nd Avenue over in Midtown. It's like a couple blocks down from Third Man Records. and
yeah,
that whole
across
alley.
from Will Leather Goods.
Right, and you go down steps. It's like an old house,
like a
right?
speakeasy?
It's
or like a
no. It's this old Victorian, and it was the basement, but they had to dig farther in. So the original stones are there, like sticking out. They didn't place anything; they just sort of used the stones that were there.
I'm still just blown away by the chemistry here because as we're listening back to what he said, like I'm looking at Becky with this "Are you kidding me?" look on my
I
face,
know.
and she's nodding at me like, "I know, right? I know, right?"
Yeah, right. And as we're drinking, we're like, "Oh yeah, this makes a lot of sense." When we had our drinks going,
So
Did you understand it better after you had the drinks?
I think so
Okay.
because as he's describing it, and then you taste it, it
You're
is
like,
dead
oh, yeah,
on. You're
yeah,
like, "Oh,
yeah,
it's definitely in the ice." Yeah, I mean,
you
it
wouldn't
really
have
was.
known the cardamom was in there until he explained it.
Yeah, it's feasting.
So here's Kevin's wife Jane talking about the physical layout of the space.
So in designing a space that's both a perfumery and a cocktail bar, it was important to be able to have things that are convertible. So as you see in the space here, we have a lot of tables that come out from the wall, benches that come out from the wall, making sure that it can be both things at once. And in that way, it's kind of a surprise as well. The packaging mirrors that in a way because it has sort of this origami unfolding. And when a perfume is sprayed, they call it the unfolding. So we wanted to have an elaborate unfolding for the packaging. It's kind of fitting that the space also ended up having sort of this elaborate unfolding into a cocktail bar.
Yeah, I mean the space is tiny, but there are like shelves that fold out and fold in, and
It's
tables
really
lift up.
beautiful and interesting.
Yeah, I mean, what did it hold in there? Like,
16.
yeah, it was tiny, but it was cool.
And the weather gets nice. They'll have more on the patio.
Yes,
Yeah.
but the intimate, because I like that sort of dark, underground bar.
Oh, it's so cool. It's like you
setting.
wandered
know-
into this best kept secret.
I was going to say, you know something that somebody else doesn't know.
Exactly.
But then when you're outside in the sunshine, he can probably break down the chemicals and all the sunshine for you too, right?
Well, probably so. Well, listen, there's more to this.
Yeah, because
But wait, there's more.
Where there's more. Yeah. This is nuts. Like just when we thought we kind of figured it all out, she
Right.
came out with this.
Yeah, because we asked her what her favorite aspect of the design was, and here's what she said.
One of the striking parts of the space is the lighting, which was done by some friends of ours, terrarium makers, Leadhead Glass over on the east side. And we came to them and said, we'd like to have you make some lights that are based on molecules. So the middle one is an alcohol molecule, and the one on each side is a glass molecule and a water molecule, which are the three molecules you need to make cocktails and fragrances. So it seemed fitting that those would be the lighting that came together.
Do they have PhDs? Are they hanging on the walls? Because I do not feel
They're
smart right now.
Incredible.
Yeah, what they worked for they were like engineers working for the automotive
Well,
companies?
she's
Was
a
that it?
designer.
Okay.
She does a lot of web stuff.
Yep.
Redesigning websites and such. And he's an engineer, but he just quit to
Yep.
do this full time.
And then you look up at the lights, and you could
you
see
can totally
what they're
see.
talking. I
Yeah.
mean, you wouldn't know the significance
No.
until somebody explained it. You need
Just
sort
like
of
the drinks.
Cliff notes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
So
but-
it's all part of the experience. And now you can feel like if someone comes in from out of town, like you want to take them there. Like this is super duper cool. And they said it's really the only place like this that they know of in the world, really.
right.
I've never heard of anything like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, nobody else is pairing,
No.
scents.
Making
with
their
cocktails.
own of
right, making
each,
their
yeah.
own. Yes. So the last thing that we asked them about was the names. Sfumato and Castalia.
What do they mean?
Yeah, and Kevin explained it to us.
The word sfumato means to turn to smoke or to turn to vapor. So that's the same root word from which perfume comes. For us, I mean, there's the obvious tie-in that you spray a scent on your wrist or on your skin and it turns into vapor and then you smell it. But there's also the tie-in that the word sfumato refers to a painting technique that Da Vinci and other Renaissance masters liked, where you would paint the foreground very sharp and the background more hazy. And it was a reference to as if you're viewing the background through a haze of smoke. And I think that's a nice metaphor for fragrances. I like to say that subtlety is one of the most important ingredients. Not everyone agrees with that, as anyone who's been in an elevator with someone fragrant can attest to. But yes, that's my personal feeling on scent. And then the name of our cocktail concept is Castalia. Castalia is a fountain from Greek mythology. And when poets and artists would drink from that fountain, they would be inspired to create their masterpieces. So that seems like a fitting name for a bar where you'll drink inspiring cocktails.
There aren't that many bars that when I walk out, I feel smarter than when I walked in.
Right.
But this was
this
one.
one.
I'm not sure if I feel smarter or dumber because there's so much information here that I'm just like, I can't keep up.
You got to study before you
Well,
go.
I definitely came away with this is a thoughtful place.
They're all in on this.
Everything has been thought about and very thoughtfully curated and lovingly taken care of.
I want to check this place out. I'm jealous of you guys. This will be like my next date night.
Guests in their home,
Yeah,
you know.
it's a cool experience.
Yeah.
Well, look, again, the place is called Sfumato or Castalia, depending on what time you go.
Yep.
And it's over at 3980 2nd Avenue in Midtown. It's just open because were there just a couple days after, so it's been a couple weeks.
Yeah, a couple weeks.
at
It
this
opened
point.
in March, yeah.
So go check it out.
And there's other things in that building too, other businesses.
Coming up in just a few moments, we have the author of a brand new book called Secret Detroit. She's going to be stopping by the podcast, so stick around.
This is the Deep Brief.
On stage.
Becky, let's talk about what's happening on stages in Detroit.
Will do. So we got Detroit Repertory Theater is continuing with Harmony Park. Wayne State's Bonstell Theater has Sister Act, the musical, through Sunday, April 22nd. Wayne State's Hillberry Theater, opening on Sunday, April 22nd, has King Lear. The Tipping Point Theater in Northville is continuing with Ripcord, a dangerously funny Battle of Wills. That closes on Sunday, April 22nd. On Michigan Opera Theater for 2 days, Saturday and Sunday, the 21st and 22nd, the Paul Taylor Dance Company. Fisher Theater is continuing with School of Rock all week. It closes on Sunday, April 22nd.
You saw this, right?
Yeah, I saw that with my husband and two boys Sunday night, and it's fantastic.
This is based on the Jack Black movie?
Yeah. And the head role, Dewey, he's great. He's very Jack Black, but with his own twist on it. Yeah. Funny, super talented. And the kids just blew our minds. I mean, these are like 10-year-olds, and they are playing their instruments live on stage every single performance.
I read somewhere, I don't remember where it was. It might have been Gary Graff, the music writer.
Oh, yeah.
I read a raving review of this
I can
performance.
see it. It was pretty amazing. And then by the end, you really feel like you're at a rock concert. It was great. So go see that if you can make it. There's a dance event, Max, Val, and PETA Live. It's a trio from Dancing with the Stars fame. So they're coming along with loads of other pro dancers. They're going to be on the stage at Fox Theater Saturday, April 21st.
See, I'm a So You Think You Can Dance.
Me too.
fan, so.
But a lot of people love Dancing with the Stars. So.
Which team are you on there, Jag?
What is
He's
the
like, "What are
score
you
of the hockey
talking
game
about?"
tonight?
Hey, dancing is a sport, dude.
Yes.
This really could equally be in the sports section.
I am not going to get into this debate with you right now. But I will just say
It
it's
is
not my bag.
physically demanding.
That I will agree with.
Yes. Okay. Tickets are on sale now for the touring company performance of Wicked, coming to Detroit Opera House in August and September. So tickets on sale now. Go grab those. But the biggest stage show news, Hamilton is coming to Detroit.
This
That
is
is
a
a
big deal.
big deal. Yeah.
Huge deal.
I mean, it feels like every few weeks, somebody in my Facebook feed has gone and seen this for the
I
first
know.
time.
And they've got their little selfies in front of the marquee.
And they won't shut up
I
about
know.
what a
Oh
great
my
But
gosh,
that'll be
it's
you
the
next
greatest
year.
show. Yeah.
So how do I get tickets?
Well, here's the thing. So it's
If you have any gold in your family,
Right.
Yeah.
if you have some precious diamonds to sell,
there's some third-party sellers out there. We're talking $7,000-8,000.
No.
Yeah.
What?
$700-800, $1,000. Yeah.
per ticket.
Per ticket. But here's the thing. So it's going to be at the Fisher Theater March, April 2019. So as part of the Broadway in Detroit season, so season subscribers get first dibs. They get guaranteed seats if you renew your membership or start a membership for that. So, and that's in the range of $410 to $875 for the subscription.
Which, if you think about it, if you don't get lucky in the 20-minute window, you have to get these tickets.
Right.
If you buy the membership for even $800, probably less than you're going to pay for a ticket in the secondary market.
Well, I
to
think
Hamilton.
that's your subscription, but I think you probably still have to pay for.
But you'll pay face value.
You're right. You'll pay face value.
So for that, it's worth it. And
It
if you
is
like,
totally worth
And if
it.
you like going to shows, that gets you in to see other shows.
Lots of
during the
other
season
great
as well.
shows. The whole season's great.
I'll go start my GoFundMe page right now and
Make just a debrief one, and then so we can all go. But the date hasn't been released for single ticket purchases. But yeah, I guarantee you it'll be a sellout in
And
like 5
that is going to
minutes.
be under lock and key when that date comes out. Yeah.
We'll try to give you breaking news on that. We'll see. So at the Michigan Science Center, there's free admission for Earth Day. You guys know when Earth Day is?
It's this Sunday, right?
It is. You got
what are
it.
you getting me?
That's not one of the holidays.
Oh.
You get.
This isn't like a sweetest day situation,
No.
Seth.
You do something nice for the Earth. So April 22nd, you can go to the Science Center free, noon to 5. They do ask that you RSVP for this. Go to their website, www.mi-sci.org. Exciting stuff at the Detroit Zoo. The Polk Penguin Conservation Center has been nominated in USA Today's 10 Best Reader's Choice Travel Award contest for Best Zoo Exhibit in the country.
I love the Penguinarium.
It's really sweet.
It is one of my favorite things in Metro Detroit. I was blown away when I went there. I have friends that work at the zoo. My wife worked there briefly when she was in grad school at part-time. And I know the old Penguinarium, it kind of stunk.
It was yucky,
But this is state-of-the-art. You walk through the tunnels. They're swimming above you. They're swimming below you. And there's even a VIP experience you can do that friends of mine did for their
you can
birthday.
feed the penguins, right?
Yeah, it's a little pricey, but it's a one-of-a-kind thing.
So neat.
If you haven't seen the penguins at the zoo, if you haven't been in the zoo in a while, I cannot stress this enough. Go.
And it's right near the entrance, floor to ceiling glass. You get great views of the penguins.
And vote.
But yeah, so to win, everybody's got to vote. So I hope all our listeners will go online to 10best.com, find the Detroit Zoo on there, Polk Penguin Conservation Center, and vote for them every day through Monday, April 30th.
And that's the number 10, 10.
The number 10, 10best, BEST.com.
All right, I'll vote. Coming up in just a few, we're going to talk about what's happening in the food and drink scene around Detroit.
Can't get enough.
This is the Deep Breeze.
Subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever you find your favorite shows.
All right, Becky, Jag, we are very lucky here today because we have a very special guest with us. She has a brand new book out.
Like brand new.
Like
today.
Like
or
just came
yesterday.
out. Yeah, absolutely. Like just came out.
Hot.
This week.
Right. It's called Secret Detroit, A Guide to the Weird, Wonderful, and Obscure. And the author, Karen Dybis, is here with us. Welcome, Karen.
Thank you so much for having me.
I love books like this. This is it's basically like weird, strange trivia about Detroit, right?
I'm so proud to be trivial in this instance. I'll take it.
It's an awesome format, too, where you can just page through and see all the little tidbits and lots of pictures.
Yeah, I started to think of it more like a travel book.
Yeah.
Like throw it in your car, take it with you somewhere, you're stuck in traffic, you're like, I'm just going to pull over and go look at something funny. Tried to make these all free or easily accessible places. So it's like a tourist guide.
It's like for someone like me who's been here for a few years on and off, like I'm flipping through it now and I'm like, okay, I know about that. Didn't know about that. And you can just kind of, like you said, flip to any page and say, oh, wow, let me go check that out now.
So what is your favorite place in the book?
I like all the historical monuments because I'm starting to understand a little more about Detroit history in the last few years. So I'm amazed. Like, I didn't know that the University of Michigan was founded in Detroit. And there's a monument to that. So that was a huge bicentennial the other day, like over the summer months. I love seeing where like Motown Records was founded because I'm a huge music fan, and United Sound and all the up and comings like Assemble and all the others. So I like checking out the new music scene through these kind of projects. I'll go anywhere you'd send me in this great city. So I really covered, I felt like almost all the 142 square miles of Detroit through this project.
I guess we should ask, are you a Detroiter? Are you native?
I am not a native. I am by way of the thumb of Michigan, kind of a forever fan of this place because my mom moved here when she was 16. She lived in Detroit for a long time, and that kind of set us up to always be fans and come visit and hang out, and then ended up being suburbanites. And so when I worked at the Detroit News, that was my chance to kind of spread out, see more of the city, kind of get a sense of what it was way before anybody thought it was cool or wanted to go there.
Right.
Not that I'm a pioneer by any stretch. I don't own a business. I'm just making it my way, but it's truly a place I love.
Becky thought it was cool back then.
I did. And then it became really cool to care about Detroit. And I'm like, I've been caring all the time.
She reminds us often.
You need longtime fans, just a boosterism. You know, I'll come spend my dollars in Detroit.
Long-time listener, first-time caller.
That's
there
it.
you go.
That's
Similar.
it.
So let's ask about a couple of the places that you mentioned in the book, because I mean, there's dozens in here. How many places are there total in this book?
I had 150 initially planned, and then 90 ended up in the book. So you can really pick and choose.
Oh, so there's a sequel coming.
gonna
Is what
say,
you're saying. You're
part two.
Here are the next 60.
Yeah, I've got more suggestions if you want to try others.
Yeah.
All right. So let's start with the Turkle House on 7 Mile. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, that's the only Frank Lloyd Wright designed house within the city of Detroit. There's others in the Metro Detroit area, but that one is really special in that it's even like a unique version of this Usonian home that he had in mind. So it's designed to be in one with nature, of course, like all of Frankie's designs, but it's really stunningly beautiful and very simple in its lines. It's supposed to just blend in. So even if you're cruising through this Palmer Park area, you may not even catch it because it's
Correct,
completely enveloped in a beautiful garden as well. But when you step inside, it's almost like that inside-out feeling. There's just like hundreds of windows. Wow. And
Tons
all wood.
of square glass windows, one on top of each other. And the windows are corner, too. So glass meets glass in the corners. And
Can the public get inside?
Unless you go on one of
no.
the public tours that they occasionally will put the house on. The owners, who are the owners of Blossoms, are very gracious to allow for tours to support their subdivision, so to speak, in the Palmer Woods area. So occasionally, if you get one of the Music in the Woods tickets, it might be at their home, but also they also open up for the garden tour so you can see at least that environment that's all around it and get a feel for it.
Can you get me in, Becky? I mean, that's...
we'll talk about it later.
All right.
It's all about who you know.
Don't knock on the door
Don't
at
knock on the
night.
door,
Do not
no.
bother these nice people.
No.
That's a pro tip.
But you know what? Even if you catch it, like on the Palmer Woods tour last year was the garden tour, even if you only go to the outside, the garden is beautiful.
Yes.
And there's so much glass, you can really get a good peek in there. And the owners always bring out a flip book so you can see the before and the after and the restoration. So you still get a good idea if you've been...
They don't throw stones, do they?
No,
don't
they do
believe so.
not. They're
Not them.
opposite of that philosophy. Yes.
I was excited to see this in the book because this is a place I've been. The Quonset huts.
True North.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I thought that development was really brilliant. I mean, you have so much, unfortunately, for Detroit in some ways, vacant land. So all these decades of poor real estate decisions and people losing their homes through unfortunate means, but led to this property being open. And the same man who has Takoi has developed these Quonset hut that are kind of like extreme Quonset huts. So they're a little bit different size and shape than anything you might picture from like wartime. So they're a lot more human friendly. So they're beautiful, sleek interiors, and one is used as an Airbnb. One is used as like a yoga studio. So you can go in and see them. Plus, they do host a number of events on site. So anything from pop-up dinners to you can visit the people who may have residents there. They're fully leased. So it took 9 Quonset huts, probably less than a year, to be picked up and utilized fully. So it shows the need not only for this kind of inventive real estate, but it really sets a tone and a landmark. That one also, I think, is really an idea for the future of Detroit.
Yeah, you see it. You can't miss it. You've been there, right?
Yeah, we went to a Place Invaders pop-up dinner there that was only 30 people in one of the Quonset huts, a private owner, and it was super special.
And Seth, you stayed there, didn't you?
I did. The Airbnb. So first of all, because I'm the guy who's not from Detroit, and let me tell you, you've got a holiday here that is awesome, which is called Sweetest Day.
They don't have that in California?
They don't have that anywhere, as far as I know. Like
It's Detroit and Cleveland, and that's it.
I thought
Yes.
it was a Hallmark holiday. That Hallmark
Yes, in
No.
Detroit and Cleveland only.
right.
That's too funny.
So so my girlfriend took me to the Airbnb for a night for Sweetest Day. It was awesome. It was great.
Were
It's a
you in-
conspiracy.
Is that the 2-story one, or is it?
Yes, it's up on the second
So it's
story.
like the coolest one.
Yeah, and she's driving me in there. I'm like,
Where are we going again?
Where are we
Especially,
going?
like right around there.
Yeah, it's
kinda
night.
like,
It's
okay, huh?
I'm like, sure.
It's up and coming.
Yes, definitely.
Let's talk about the Schwitz.
I can't stand how cool this place is because I really enjoy anything from that era in Detroit history. So it's opened around 1930, and it's a Jewish bathhouse. It's the mother house of heat. And you're going to go in there, you're going to sit in the sauna, you're going to be hit with some leaves to kind of cleanse and purify. They're adding all these other accoutrements now, like there's dinners, and there are, I think there's like a Himalayan salt or some sort of other sauna option now, and then you can go sit in the cold water to kind of like detoxify and relax. And women are going in groups, men are kind of hanging out together. There's co-ed times. It's bathing suits and just a good time had by all. So.
As the Jewish guy in the room, I'm thinking of my older relatives saying, "Oh, go take a schwitz." And
That's what I was going to ask you, Jag. Like, yeah, what's your connotation?
Because when you first hear the name Yiddish, which is like Jewish slang, you think of somebody when they're under duress or they're hot, they're schwitzing, which means they're sweating and they're perspiring. And so, I think of schwitzing, and then I remember back at some point in my past, go take a schwitz, which is exactly what you're describing.
Ah, cool.
See, as the non-Jewish guy in the room, I was also thinking of his older relatives saying, go take a schwitz.
You got the old guys, you got the young guys, you got the ladies. It's a beautiful new space.
And didn't it used to be men only?
I believe so, and then it had a bit of a reputation at some point, much like our area drive-ins. They all kind of went downhill for a time, but now this is new ownership. They're bringing it back and really making it a hot spot.
But that's interesting to me that there are times that are co-ed, because I think of very Orthodox, old-school Jewish temples nowadays are still separate. Men sit separately from the women, and I'd imagine that's how these houses were back in the day. So it's kind of interesting to have a modern twist on it where you might go with your girlfriend or your boyfriend, your husband, or your wife, and you can actually be in the same room together. That's interesting to me.
Yeah, like going to the spa. Yeah.
Let's talk about the 1943 riot marker.
That's one of my personal favorites because that one I couldn't believe existed after I read about it. I was doing a separate project and was researching the 43 riot, just completely in shock because everybody's heard of 67.
Right.
But who knew Detroit had all this history of racial strife that led to, in that case, the death of 34 people. And this particular gentleman was an immigrant, an Italian immigrant doctor, was going to treat some patients and was killed in the course of some riot action. It sounded like it was greatly unintentional, but his life ended there. So the Italian community raised funds for this bench to be installed. And I'm cruising down Gratiot, cruising down Gratiot, and I see where it's supposed to be. And there it is in the middle of an intersection. Like people are just zooming by. So you pull over, you risk your life crossing the street because you're trying to get into this little pocket. And there's this gorgeous, gorgeous marble bench with the story of his life on it that the community dedicated. And it's like, wow, this really is a special city that the people took this moment to honor the life of someone who was giving his all for others.
Wow. I didn't know that I knew obviously about 67, but I didn't know about 43.
Oh, you're not alone. Yeah. I only learned that as an adult.
I learned that tonight. I didn't know that either. I mean, we've talked with the movie having come out in previous episodes of the podcast about 67 and the riots and everything, and I felt like I've learned so much about that this year, and then to think that there was one essentially quarter century beforehand.
Exactly.
Yeah, less than a generation in theory, or maybe a generation.
And not much changed in between.
It makes you wonder how much of those bad feelings from 43 contributed to 67.
But which is weird, though, because I know in 67 they were very confident right up until the moments that the riot happened that, this won't happen here in Detroit. We've got everything under control.
True. Yeah,
which you would think they wouldn't think given that they had one in the past.
Yeah, it really felt like Detroit was on an upswing once again. All those many times, and you had this wonderful, I think a fairly decent mayor. Detroit has had a long history of ups and downs with mayors. So in 67, here it was like...
There were ups?
We're coming back. We're going to
a few ups, yeah.
Yep, and then right back where we were. Unresolved issues.
Right.
Yep.
Right. Let's talk about this one as well, because this is another one that I really like. I've seen from the water, the post office.
Yeah, the floating post office. I, again, had to see that in person. That was the great fun of doing this, is actually going out to all the sites. And it is one of the most gorgeous parks in Detroit, in my opinion, because it's right on the water again. And you can see the Ambassador Bridge so close, it feels like you can touch it. So it's like a postcard. And there's this little boat bobbing in the water, and you can go and you do regular mail. But that whole company's purpose is to serve the freighters as they're coming and going along the Detroit River so they can get mail and packages and little love notes like all of us want want, and they've been doing it for over 100 years.
Does Matty Maroon have a post office box on this boat?
Yes. I think he's probably tried to at least stop the mail or something else there. He may have lawsuits. No, just kidding. I don't want anybody pointing a finger my way. Hi, Maddie. But I think it's fascinating because I think that area is so ripe for development. Once this whole Gordie Howe Bridge is going or resolved, and they take a look at that area, everywhere along the water in Detroit deserves a fair chance for the public to enjoy it. And I did once ask the Detroit Riverfront Conservancy, will you look at that part of Detroit for development? They're like, absolutely.
Oh, yeah. The idea is to connect it all eventually.
That's the one thing. Last summer, I took one of those boat tours that goes, around. And what shocked me was how much undeveloped or poorly used
oh my
waterfront
gosh, so
land there
underutilized.
is.
When I had my first job out of college, I worked at the Rensen, and I had to park behind the Rensen, which was directly on the water. It was just cement.
Yeah.
This beautiful waterfront was a parking lot, which made no sense because you're also exposed to all the elements. It was absolutely freezing in the winter. Like, how can this be?
Well, and just in the last week, that Michael Van Valkenburg Associates in New York, the architect, won the bid to develop West Riverfront Park.
Riverfront.
And so that's going to be another great part of the city coming back.
The Mopop Festival is, and, it's beautiful. You go to that music festival, and these great bands are playing with the water right behind them, and it's so picturesque. But it's just plain grass, it's not
I mean,
built up.
To
So.
Detroit's credit, this is not the only city I've seen like this. Like, I used to live in Providence, Rhode Island, and across the street from me were some businesses that had their backs on the waterfront, and it was a Dunkin' Donuts, and it was a used car.
Oh my God!
Like,
well, it was Rhode Island. Of course, it was a Dunkin' Donuts.
All right, Karen, do us a favor. Will you stick around for a few minutes? Because we want to hear, because this is not your first book, and you've written a number of other books about Detroit. We want to hear about them as well.
I'd love it.
The deep breathe.
Food and drink.
All right, Becky, this is your specialty.
Yum,
What's going
yum.
on in the food and drink
All
scene?
right, so I got a few food and drink news stories for you. Have you guys heard of the Bayview Yacht Club? It's mainly a private club.
Just in passing,
Karen
yeah.
knows.
I park all my yachts there.
Well, right. Yeah, as do I. But no, I had the opportunity a couple years ago to go to a fundraiser party there. And the inventor of the Hummer was the bartender there, Jerome Adams.
Wait.
You guys don't know what a Hummer is?
Well-
The drink. The drink.
See, I was just thinking of the vehicle. I don't know where your guys' minds are at.
Oh, yeah. There's a car, too.
All right, I'll bite. What's a Hummer?
A Hummer includes rum, Kahlua, and vanilla ice cream. Super simple, but you guys, this is a hot drink. Like summertime, even if you're going to a friend's party barbecue, they'll drag the blender outside and make Hummers.
All right, wait. So let me write this down. What do I need for this?
You need some rum,
Some rum. Got
some
that.
Kahlua,
Got that.
and some vanilla ice cream.
Oh, I'll have to run to the store.
I'm out because when I was a dumb 17-year-old freshman in college, I had a bad experience with Kahlua.
And then you never go
so
back,
I can't.
right?
I can't
Everybody
drink
has one of those
anything with
things.
Kahlua. It's the one I can't drink. So
Well-
it does. If I could substitute something, it sounds
I don't
delicious.
like coffee flavors, so I'm kind of we can put Frangelico or something.
I feel the
we can
same
mix
way
and
about
match it.
vanilla ice cream. So.
Let's do so. We'll do our own. We'll do a debrief Hummer.
No, we need.
We should raise a glass in his honor.
Okay, never mind. But honestly, rest in peace, Jerome.
Yeah,
Passed away.
For someone to create such an iconic drink like that,
I
we should
know,
raise
and
a
he
glass
passed
to
away.
his memory.
And I
sure.
did meet him that night. Very
They
engaging
met
guy.
him one time, and he could not have been a nicer
Yeah,
person.
African American guy, and invented this, and just worked a long time at the Bayview. Great guy. So now you know. There's a new little restaurant opening in Corktown. It's got 24 seats. It's called Folk Detroit. So it's next to Farmer's Hand, which is the cutest, coolest little market that stocks things from all over local farms. So they opened up a restaurant to kind of pair with it. Same owners, 2 women, one's from Australia and one's a native Detroiter. So check that out. They're open 7 days a week, all day brunch on the menu.
How do you get an Australian and a Detroiter together?
Beer.
Oh, okay. Enough said.
Kangaroos.
That's it.
So you can get ice cream there, coffee, beautiful food. I saw the pictures of food. It looks great. I got a fun event to tell you. So I know, Seth, you like the craft cocktails.
I do.
I
Yeah,
enjoy
I
that.
don't know. You like the craft cocktails?
I enjoy. I will try anything once, twice if I like it. So whether it's a
Okay.
craft beer, craft cocktail, as
Just
long as
no
it-
Kahlua.
As long as it doesn't have Kahlua, I will take.
Wait, forget the Kahlua. Cucumber.
I knew you were going to ask me that.
How do you feel?
How do you feel about it?
I have
cucumber?
to tell you that I know this was a thing with you and Mike. I'm cucumber neutral. I'll try. I don't.
you can't be Switzerland.
No, I don't crave it, but if it's in it, and I'll give it a shot if it's in a particular drink.
Karen, do you like craft cocktails?
I do. I am a
Oh,
fan.
see?
How do you feel about cucumber in your
I
craft
will go
cocktail?
for that because I feel like that adds that cool element.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's
See?
neutralizing. It's
So
kind of
cool.
like
You're saying
just
cool as a
water.
cucumber?
Yeah. I'm all right with that. I'm not schwitzing.
Not if you've got a refreshing cucumber in
it.
your beverage.
That's absolutely
Okay, so
it.
my husband and I and a bunch of friends are going to this, so you guys should all come too. It's called Sips, Tips, and Scholarships. And it's coming up Friday, April 27th at the Stanley Kresge Mansion, which is a beautiful
yes.
home in the Boston
Stunning.
Ederson neighborhood.
Why do I know that name? What is?
Sebastian, SS Kresge.
I'm not from here, so
Kmart.
I'm not.
Precursor to Kmart.
Yeah.
Dime
that's
store.
right. We've talked about this
I used to
before.
go get chocolate shakes and a grilled cheese sandwich at the counter at Kresge's by my house.
There wasn't
had
any
to-
Kahlua in the chocolate shake, though.
Not that I'm aware of, but I was a kid, so
Fair enough.
I don't know.
How much of your childhood do you remember?
So there's going to be mixologists from all the hot spots: Two James, Standby, Bumbo's, Detroit City Distillery, and a brand new spot called Kiesling.
That's the one. That's the one I want to go to.
I know. So you can check out the bartenders there. It's a cocktail competition. So these mixologists are going to be making up drinks. You can try them. You want to take an Uber or Lyft there.
Yes.
Try them all, and then you vote with your tips.
Oh, that's cool.
The bartender gets the largest amount of tips at the end of the night, wins the contest.
I will say, if there is a bartender there from Two James, you had better be in an Uber or a Lyft because
Oh,
those
those
drinks
are
are
strong.
strong.
100% agree.
Exactly. But the coolest thing about this, it's $60. Buy tickets on Eventbrite. It benefits Loyola High School, a boys' high school
Very
in
cool.
Detroit that is amazing. So check that out. Cool national news for one of our own restaurants, Voyager in Ferndale, was named one of the Food and Wine magazine's top 10 restaurants of the year.
That's big.
That is huge.
That's
and this
really big.
place is tiny, teeny tiny.
That's small.
It's
It's
very
one of those
small.
hole-in-the-wall gems, right?
Oh,
Downtown
yeah.
Ferndale? Is it downtown Ferndale?
It's not really downtown. No, it's the other side.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's east of Woodward on
And
9 Mile.
I know they're known for their oysters, and having lived in New Orleans for 3
Oysters,
years, I fell in
oh.
love with oysters, so I
You
need to get
gotta
down here and
go.
try this.
It's beautiful too. It's just beautiful. It's tough to get in. You got to go at like kind of an off time, but so good. So, and they also opened another restaurant downtown called Lovers Only, which has this crazy good fish sandwich.
I have to ask the obvious question.
Yeah.
Can you get a Hummer at Lovers Only?
I believe behind in the alleyway, they may
Yes.
have something going on there.
It's dessert. Got
It's
it.
around the corner.
It's a family show, folks.
No, wait. I want to
Beautiful
ask.
Capitol
I
Park.
want to ask Karen. What's your favorite place to eat in Detroit?
Well, I love all the little dive bars and all the cool spots like that. So I like the high grade, and I'm going to the Coney's, and I'm hitting Dooley's.
Honest John.
Honest John's. I like to see kind of like what life was like. So click,
Oh yeah.
you know, what you want.
Yeah.
That's my kind of place.
Love it.
I've done the Drunks of Antiquity
That's it.
tour where they take you to
Yes.
all the old dive bars. There was one on I think it was
Two-way in.
Two-way in is the
Yep.
favorite.
That's the oldest.
And Avix.
There was one that's like was it 6 or 7 mile? It was this tiny little
Tom's?
Yes.
Looks like it's falling down.
Yes,
That's
that was the last one we ended
you
the
and
night
D
there.
Pride right there.
That was great.
Spent many an evening.
Oh, we could talk all
That's a
day about
UND
this.
hangout? That's
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah. And
right.
I got to throw a shout out to the Whiskey Experience coming up too. They're going to have the giant
Oh yes, yeah.
drink, like the world's record breaking. So that should be
Now
a
I
fun
am a
one.
whiskey person. I need
That's
to get
a
in on
Friday
that.
night event.
Yeah. Think
That's
so.
another Uber and Lyft your way
Yes.
there and back event.
Definitely.
Make your reservations now.
This is the D.
Detroit
This is the D.
Brave.
All right, we're here with Karen Dybis. She is the author of a brand new book. Just came out. I mean, like yesterday, right? I mean, this is
On tax day, of course.
brand
when
new.
all good books are
Makes
brought out.
sense.
It's called Secret Detroit, a guide to the weird, wonderful, and obscure. And it's all about, these strange, unusual places all throughout Detroit. But this is not your first book. You have a couple of books.
She's got a
about
stack
Detroit
here.
area. I
I'm
mean, you
looking
brought them
at
with
them.
you, right?
Yeah.
I had to get better. I had to try a few books to kind of figure out the formula, and now I'm there.
Ah, nice.
We had Seth sit on the stack of books so he'd be the same height as the rest of us, actually.
Oh, yeah. I know. That's nice.
Yes.
Since we don't have telephone books really anymore.
So let's go through them. Let's talk about some of the other books as well, because people can still get these too. right?
Absolutely.
Witch of Del Rey. The
That,
Witch of
yeah.
Del Rey. Tell us about what that's all about.
That is a fun true crime. I call it like more like a legal thriller about Detroit in the 1930s through the 1940s. And so you thought Kwame Kilpatrick was the scandal. They had nothing on Detroit back in the day. We had mayors aplenty who were just going downtown for, running the numbers and taking bribes, and prosecutors that went to prison. And that all was happening at the same time as kind of these mob wars, Prohibition, the Great Depression, and this Hungarian immigrants murder trial got thrown in the mix. And all these factors led to her and her son going to jail, and kind of the story of what happened to them and how they eventually got exonerated.
So that's something that we've talked about on the show before, is with Prohibition in Detroit, because of its proximity to Canada,
Yes.
Detroit was such a real hotspot at that time period, right?
Absolutely. They always say the classic number that's thrown out there, and my friend Mickey Lyons can give you the full scoop, was 75% of the nation's alcohol was brought in through Detroit.
Wow.
Because it's not a big river. You look at the Detroit River, I mean, that is possible,
It's close.
not only with an ice bridge, but in general, if you had all the little guys bringing everything back with them, or women under their skirts would have special holders. I mean, Mickey's tales are hilarious of that time period. And so, yeah, Prohibition was hot stuff. And that's why we had so many gangs and so much of that kind of like lawlessness.
Yeah, Purple Gang and all that.
So was she really a witch?
She wasn't. It was a mean nickname. It was kind of like a boogeyman, or, boogie woman in this instance. So the neighbors were a little fearful of her. She seemed to have too much power and control and a little bit of money, which was frowned upon in the Great Depression. Everybody was suffering equally. So she became the kind of harbinger of bad times. So if your husband left you, it wasn't because you were a bad person. It was the witch had hexed him. So they kind of saw her as this negative factor in Del Rey.
I'm
thinking,
can I use that as a scapegoat? Can I use this as an excuse?
People still, I've had people come to book events and tell me their parents would use the Witch of Del Rey. Like, if you don't come home by the time the lights turn on, the witch will get you.
Is that the name? Was it the Nain Rouge?
Yeah, kind of like a Nain Rouge
Kind of
feel.
like, yeah.
Okay.
But
So she's taken on a life of her own.
So that's the Witch of Del Rey. You've also got the Ford, Wyoming Drive-In.
Yeah, so that's still open. If everybody is still in love with drive-ins, they should go check it out, because it's open on the weekends in the winter, 7 days a week in the warmer months. I call it Detroit's living room. So it really was a place to see and be seen and date and hang out and bring your pets and your beer in the car and hang out and see doubleheader every night. You can see 2 movies for the price of 1. And it's 5 screens. It used to be 9. It was the world's largest drive-in theater.
Largest, yeah.
And then the property,
One of the very few places you can see a drive-in.
I may have been here.
Did you go?
I don't know.
It's the only one around here.
Yes.
So.
Then I have.
There was one up north, but I think that's
Yeah, my
closed,
girlfriend
too.
took me to a drive-in theater early on. This must have
You
been
must
it.
have been.
Yeah, so there's 8 left in Michigan of about the 130 drive-ins we had. It's crazy that a state as cold as it were as we have our
Yeah.
weather
Where it snows in
would have
April.
this many
Right.
drive-ins, but we were fanatics about our cars, and so it all fits
Yeah,
into that
everybody-
idea that we love to drive.
But you got an entire book about a drive-in theater.
That's I think, how did I do that? But
There's
it
a lot
really is this
happened in
idea
those
of like,
cars.
how did drive-ins come to be, and then what led to their demise, and how did they survive those years when we're all on our VCRs and now our DVRs, and they kind of, they showed some movies that maybe weren't suitable for children, but they got through it. And so the ones that are here today are digital. The
In the
screen
car?
is
Yeah.
as good as your TV at home.
They
It
might
is
have served
incredible.
Hummers.
And is it the modern way where you just tune your car radio to a certain
Absolutely.
frequency? And
You
that's
can
how
still hang
Oh,
the
yeah.
speaker on it if you want, old school style.
Or you can hear it with the speaker systems in cars now, the
Yeah,
stereo
now it's
systems.
so
I mean,
good.
it's going to be like you're in a surround sound in a movie.
Yeah, so between the digital film, which isn't affected by light or any of the negative
Oh,
effects
true,
of
yeah.
weather or whatever was happening in the past for drive-ins,
Right.
now it's crystal clear. It's a fantastic experience
We gotta
and
do
great
that.
people. 2 families owned it over the years, and the guy who owns it now, I think, is 96 this year.
That's
Oh, wow.
cool.
Yeah, cool guy.
I just want to know, if I go to the drive-in, can I get a Hummer in the car?
That's between you and who you
They
go with.
just redid the refreshments area.
Well,
never
can you
know.
buy beer, or do you have to sneak it in?
I would recommend maybe putting it in the trunk.
Yeah.
Don't sneak people in. They know. They see. They
That
can
is
sneak
so
beer in
funny
now.
because when I was a kid, so we had 6 kids in my family, and I was the youngest and the littlest, when we were going there, and they would make me sit under a blanket in the back to pay for me.
So you
We were
could
on a budget.
You could go and sneak your own beer in, as opposed to going to a regular movie theater and paying $8 for a pop.
Oh, they're pretty. They'd love you to go to the concession stand,
Of course, yeah.
But I don't think that anybody's going to frown on a pizza and a 6-pack.
No.
They're pretty good at the drive-in.
And let's talk about this other book here, Better Made in Michigan.
That's right. Potato chip history. I'm one of 3 potato chip historians in the United States.
Is that an official
That's
designation?
really
Do you have a card? Do you
Yeah,
have
is there a
business card?
conference? Do you all get
No.
together?
And eat chips?
Around a table?
That's it. We could. No, Rachel Lutz of the Peacock Room
Are you a
once
purist?
described it as chippreneurs. I was like, you are the best for coining a phrase for me here. But yeah, there was like 30 potato chip companies in Detroit from the 20s forward. And all either, merged or disappeared because the family didn't want to take it on. And Better Made is the last man standing.
It's amazing.
And it's amazing that we have locally made chips that are so fresh and so good.
Yeah, don't take that for granted. You don't get that.
Do not
in
take
other
that
places.
for granted. Because there are
it.
less
I
than
think
a
it's like
handful left.
Pennsylvania has one.
There's Mike Sells in Ohio.
Yeah.
There's hers. There's a handful of them still around. But even Jay's out of Chicago is now owned by somebody else.
Yeah,
So we got to
some
really
big
respect
I
that.
had Better Made barbecue chips for the first time
my
like a
gosh.
week ago, just randomly.
It's a religious experience.
Well, it was actually during Passover because they're kosher for Passover.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, I've never had these. And my wife brought them home and I tried them. I said, I'm obsessed with these.
I
This is my new
know.
favorite potato chip ever, the
yeah.
Better Made
It's like
barbecue.
the sweet
They
and smoky.
do. They have
and-
like 5 different kinds of barbecue. So if you go to the store in
yes,
Gratiot,
that's true.
right by City Airport, that's where they make the chips. They have every kind of Better Made they make there. And you can try all the different varieties. They
like
have
going to a
30
brewery and trying all the
kinds.
different
Yes.
taps. Yeah.
And they're like a day old. So they're perfection.
Wow.
It's like getting a donut off the line at Krispy Kreme. It is a religious
I like the
experience for
rainbow
me.
ones. Do you guys know about these?
I haven't had the rainbow one
So
yet.
it includes the burnt ones and the kind of like.
No, not burnt. Sugary.
Oh, okay.
Sugar,
You're right.
bro-
caramelized.
caramelized. There you go.
Caramelized.
Thank
There you go.
Yes, and I love those. Like I'm the type that would pick those out of the
Yes.
regular bag, and now you can buy a whole bag that has some in there.
That's how it
it's
got started.
The burnt or caramelized French fries. And
Yeah,
it's the same
absolutely.
concept.
With the
Same
mix,
concept.
yeah.
So
Now,
they
are
used
you-
to be seconds, so they'd pull them out of the good chips,
Right.
and they'd sell them for less. So the people so-called down on their luck would buy these browned or burnt chips, they'd call them, and they became so popular that they have to make a whole separate line of this kind of
they
like
I'd
highly
pay more for
sugared.
those.
yeah, they
Oh,
do it
yes,
on purpose
yeah.
now. Now, Karen, are you a purist or do you like the dips?
Oh no. I don't even eat flavors. I'm like the Henry
Just
Ford
give me
potato
the
chips. I want
yellows.
original or wavy. The wavy is about exciting as I get.
Wait, I felt like there was
But
some...
I garlic dill pickle. I'll take that back because they formulated that spice mix with McClure's,
Oh.
and then McClure's went kettle
Yeah,
style.
they
and
do
they kind of
their own.
separated. But Better Made got to hold on
The
to
thin
that
and
spice
crispies.
mix.
I detected
baby.
some moral judgment in that question
Oh,
there.
no judgment. I like a good wavy chip with the French onion dip, but I like the plain. I was just curious.
No, that's why you got to go local and get that kind of wavy on there because that will hold your dip nicely.
All right, so if you're a potato chip connoisseur, you should definitely check out Better Made in Michigan. And the brand new book. And again, congratulations. Secret Detroit, A Guide to the Weird, Wonderful, and Obscure. Karen, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you. I appreciate this so much.
You've got a brand new website if people want to check it out, right?
Yep, KarenDybis.com, and you can read all about the books.
How do you spell the last name, just for anybody listening?
This is hardcore Polish here, so D-Y, B as in boy, I, S as in Sam.
And the book, I assume, is on Amazon, any other places locally?
All our favorite local stores, so thank goodness for people like BookBeat in Oak Park and Pages in Detroit and so many other wonderful local booksellers that have supported the local authors here
Yes.
and really given us a chance to have a platform.
And you've got a couple of events coming up. Let's. You're with our friend Bailey over at Detroit History.
Yeah,
Tours,
so I'll be
right?
doing some Secret Detroit tours so you can kind of experience the book in real life and go see these places and meet some of the entrepreneurs and owners. And then
cool.
Separately, I'll be at Pages on April 26th for an event there. And I know I'm also going to be at BookBeat for Independent Bookstore Day on the 28th of this month. So you can go check out. A lot of us local authors will kind of, if Colleen says come, we come.
Awesome. Well, congratulations, and thanks so much for stopping by.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Karen.
This is the deep.
Detroit.
This is the debrief.
One plunger, guys. That's all you need. All right, that's another show there.
You haven't lived in my house.
No comment. No comment. But I loved this show.
Did you?
Especially the double authors, the Karen D's.
Yeah.
So good.
How about the Jag? You want to keep them?
I'm still thinking about it. But
I wouldn't expect you to know this early.
Is it just me, or did the show get a lot more Jewish tonight?
It got very much a Jewish flavor.
We were schwitzing.
Yes. We're talking Yiddish.
I think we mentioned a Passover Seder at one point.
We did. I loved it.
Well, look, thank you to our guests tonight. Like you said, we had two authors, both named Karen D. Karen Dybis, who is the author of Secret Detroit, A Guide to the Weird, Wonderful, and Obscure. If you love Detroit, first of all, we know you do because you're listening to this
Of course.
podcast.
I'm taking that book home. You guys are going to have to find
I'm taking it home.
She left one copy, and we're going to fight over it. And it just came out. I mean, yesterday. Just came out.
Hot item.
Also, Karen Dionne, who is the author of The Marsh King's Daughter. Don't wait for the movie.
No.
We expect
Go
the movie
read
to be
it.
coming, but you'll jinx it if you wait for the movie. Go read the book.
Support a local author.
Absolutely.
Yeah. There's so many great local bookstores. Go get it.
And then go watch the movie.
Yeah.
And also thanks to Kevin Peterson and Jane Larsen of Sfumato and Castalia. Go there and
Go.
drink and smell and drink. We got some people to thank as well. We've got to thank our intern, Spencer.
He's great.
And thank you for the Mother's Day
Suggestion.
Cedar Point idea, Spencer.
I still got to get down to Cedar Point. I haven't done that yet. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, if you want to check out our website, you can head over to thedebriefdetroit.com. While you're there, join the email list, because if you do, we will email you a list of everything we talk about in the show, so you know that everything that's going on all around town. You'll be cooler than all your friends.
And it's great if you say,
hipper.
hey, let's go out, let's do something this weekend. You got a whole list to pick from right there.
Just pick it. You don't have to make notes while you're listening to the podcast. You can get it
Absolutely.
to
You're driving.
Yep. Get it to your inbox.
You can find this podcast wherever you find your favorite podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify. That's big. We're big in Spotify.
Yeah.
Stitcher, and all the other podcasting
Google
apps, Google
and-
Play Music. By the way, Jag, you've got another podcast as well, right? You just launched
Right,
it?
I just
excited.
launched it. Got my first episode up last week, and hoping to have number 2 up this week. It's just called The Jag Show. So search The Jag, J-A-G Show. My first guest was a gentleman I used to work with who's at 57 years old, did an Ancestry DNA kit. He's adopted. He found his sister at 57
This
years old.
story was so good, and he told it so well.
Thanks.
I had the tissues out. It was really good.
So
well
The Jag
done.
Show, if you want to find it. Thank you.
Well, congratulations on the podcast. That's awesome. So go find both of those, subscribe to both of those, and while you're there, leave a review. That helps other people find the show. If you don't know how to listen to a podcast, you don't even know how you listen to this podcast. You're like, I just walked in the
Clicked
room.
on
Just popped up
something.
my phone.
And it was just playing. I don't know what happened. You can also download the mobile app. We've got a mobile app for both iPhones and for Android phones. You can find it there, and it's got all kinds of cool features and lets you know everything that's going on. And if you are an event organizer or you're putting on something, you want us to know about it, because maybe we'll talk about it in a future episode of the podcast, you can send all of your announcements to press@thedebriefdetroit.com. And while we're at it, we are still looking for suggestions for Mother's Day, right?
Yep,
We're
yep.
looking for Detroitish kind of things. Things that make you go, what up, dough, mom?
Yo mama jokes.
I'm still working on that.
He's new here.
Yeah.
Give him a couple of years.
We'll see.
Yeah, whether it's gifts, something that you can only get here in Detroit, or whether it's an experience, whether it's a place to
I'm
go.
just looking forward to some interaction with our audience. See
Yeah.
what they got to say.
So what do we say that people could email us? hello@thedebriefdetroit.com is the email address.
You got it.
And maybe if your suggestions are good, maybe we'll read them on the air.
Sounds like a plan.
All right, well, thanks for listening, everybody, and we will talk to you next week.
The Debrief.
Your guide to Detroit's arts and entertainment scene.